So this is a whole sphere. So how many balls do I fill in here? Now you may say balls are sitting here, not on the sphere. But then there is a theory, as you go in dimensions higher and higher, the volume of the sphere will rest on the surface. It's very simple. We got the area of, if you take a sphere, three-dimensional sphere, the amount of volume that is there on the surface compared to center is very small, much larger here than in here. So we increase the dimension and all the volume will be mostly on the shell. That is where the energy is sitting. So basically you divide it by the volume by this volume, this gives you number of signals which can be separated out in presence of noise. Based on this, he has given the famous theorem called the channel capacity, which is the ratio of the volume of this n-dimensional sphere divided by volume of the noise sphere. And then gave the very famous formula, C is equal to B log 1 plus S by N. Very simple proof. And the whole of communication theory is based on this fundamental Shannon theorem, that the channel capacity, that the number of signals I can send without making error is given by this formula for a given bandwidth and for given signal to noise ratio. Anyway, this you will come to know about it as you study communication theory, but it based on this arguments. Okay. Now let us say there is a function which is band limited and time limited. This two-dimensional space is called a time frequency plane. So band limited to this, time limited to this. This function f of t, any function for that matter, can be represented as equal to some a n phi n t, where phi n t is a orthonormal series. The question is, if you have a bt limited function, I have umpteen number of phi n t is possible. To express this in terms of orthonormal basis, we agreed, and nothing unique about it. You can use any number of orthonormal series, and you can generate your own orthonormal series by Gram-Schmidt procedure. So umpteen number of ways of representing this in terms of this, covering this T and B. Now, one way is to break this into this. A time function of the duration T tau, but covering the whole band, and this time function has a value corresponding to f of n b, n by 2b, sample values with a width equal to something like this, because this function is sin x by x function. And how does the sin x by x function look like? So what you are saying is the original function, which is varying like this, I take this one, the second one I take another sin x by x, add them up, but this also has a width, some finite width, and if this width, we defined mean square width in the last class, remember delta t square, So in that definition there is some width for this. And if the delta t is same as the delta t here, then this sin x by x with these amplitudes will cover all the bandwidth. So this is one representation here, right? What is the disadvantage of this description? This description is one advantage. I know the time function, how it is varying from one sample value to another sample value spaced at 1 by 2b. So I am getting some resolution in the time axis to the extent of 1 by 2b. The variations I am able to find to the extent of resolution equal to 1 by 2b. But in frequency axis I am not able to separate out, because this function will be completely covering all the bandwidth. This function has the bandwidth equal to minus 2 pi b to 2 pi b. In fact, if you take this function, find the Fourier transform of this will be from minus 2 pi b to 2 pi b with a constant value equal to 1. So it's covering all the bandwidth. So in the frequency axis, I am not able to separate out the frequency variations. On the other hand, if I do this, I am covering all time axis, t duration. This corresponds to each of these frequencies here, covering the whole time t, with the dual situation of this. Remember we said about sampling theorem in the dual situation. So there is nothing but the sampling theorem in dual situation, where I am sampling the frequency axis at 1 by 2t, but covering the whole time axis. The disadvantage here is that I am able to separate out the frequency, resolution is better, but time there is no resolution. If there is a signal which is suddenly changing in frequency, I do not know where the frequency change has happened, because t axis I am not able to resolve at all. Ideally what I would like to have is at a preferential position here, maybe I would like to know what is whether any change is taking place in terms of frequency or not. So I will be better off if I can break this into small units, and each one of the unit will correspond to a phi and t. That means instead of doing these two extremes like this or like this, which you are now familiar with, I would like to now break the TF axis, TF plane, into some convenient small slots, maybe something like this. One function for this, one function for this, one function for this, which will correspond to this phi and t, which are orthonormal. So the advantage of this representation is this function amplitude will give me information about at this time and at this frequency how the function is varying. Are you with me or not? So if my phi and t's form something like this unitary cells, now we'll go back to the previous lecture. We said there are functions for all time functions, any arbitrary time function f of t, delta t into delta f is greater than or equal to half, right? This we proved last time. Uncertainty principle.